intro to our show today. I'm Jeff with Mike, and we have an incredible guest, Bill Cartwright, our good friend from USF. A quick introduction about Bill: California Player of the Year twice, dropped 55 against Bishop O'Dowd to put Sacramento basketball on the map, averaged only 42 points and 21 boards a game, number one recruit in the nation, USF's all-time leading scorer and rebounder, number 3 pick in the 1979 NBA draft to the New York Knicks, who he played 9 seasons for, then was traded to Chicago, won 5 NBA championships as a player and coach, went on to continue coaching for several more years, and has come right back to where he started, to the University of San Francisco as a director of initiatives. Bill, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. That's wow. That's a long intro there. I don't know. It's funny that to think that I was really fortunate to have a lot of time playing, 16 years playing, 16 years coaching. And what's interesting is that after I coach in the NBA, I was able to coach overseas as well. So yeah, I've had kind of a long road to get all the way back to USF. So it's been an interesting journey.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to explore all the essential ingredients on your journey throughout this show. And normally we start out with a thought of the day. And I try and think about the guests and get it to apply to their life. And hopefully I'm not wrong with this one, but it's from the great Stephen Covey, who was the author of the 7 Habits. I don't know if you're a Covey fan or not, but the only thing that endures over time is the law of the farm. You must prepare the ground, plant the seed, cultivate and water if you expect to reap the harvest. And so right out of the gate, does that resonate with you? Does that kind of signify a little bit of your life growing up with your big family and putting all the work that you did into basketball? And what are your thoughts on that quote?
Well, that is very familiar because I don't know if you know or not, but my dad was a farm laborer. So that's exactly what we had prepared for. My dad was the essential workhorse. So you definitely had to prepare, you definitely had to work. And then you would reap the benefits of that work. And, my family's always been known for one thing, is that we really work harder than anybody. So yeah, that definitely resonates with my whole family.
Yeah, definitely. When you look at your lengthy career, whether you realize it or not, it's probably just your DNA, but it started from when you were born, and just having your dad as your role model, showing you the way and showing you how to work hard, why to work, and how to just put in great effort and then to reap that. And that's what's so fun for Mike and I to have this show, because you're just so gracious. And I don't know if you remember, but I met you at a Giants game. You were sitting there watching game, beautiful day in the city. And I looked down, I was like, oh man, that's Bill Cartwright. And I was like, I got to go say hello to him. And so I go up to you, and the most kind man that I ever met, and your voice just so soft-spoken, and you made me feel like I was an All-American at USF. And I just can't thank you enough for that. And again, thank you so much for coming on our show.
To me, if you're a Don, you're kind of bonded. And what's really interesting is that I've had an opportunity to spend a lot of time with my alumnus, a lot of guys who played here a lot longer than me. And those guys were awesome to me. They were awesome. I've gone in their homes and probably scared them to walk in. They're like, hey, he's going to come over. I kind of invited myself over, but just to be able to spend that time with them and learn from them some of the stories and things that I never knew, it's really invaluable. And just to have that connection with USF, because once you're connected, it's really amazing. You have a basic understanding of the school and the philosophy of it, and the caring, um, and really how universal it is. So if I'm walking down the street and somebody says USF, I'm turned around like, we're already bonded. So because we have that clear understanding.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of bonding, one of the great times that Mike and I had together, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier before the show started, was just breaking bread together. And in the Commons was the cafeteria. And I remember I grew up a little bit similar to you. I have 7 siblings. We always had food. But mom was a good cook and did her best. But I was excited when I got to USF because like, holy smokes, look at all these choices we have. And then after 2 weeks of 2 weeks straight of sandwiches, I was like, oh man, this is going to be a little bit rough. But take us back to you sitting around the Commons, having a good time, just chatting with your teammates and developing these bonds. Again, a highlight for Mike and I at that time of our life.
Well, you got to remember that, coming here to USF, we had 7 kids in our family, but I had 6 sisters, which was always a challenge to get out of the house and get out of the house early so you can make sure you get some bathroom time. But at USF, it was great because I had my own stuff. I had my own room. The classes were my responsibility. You were pretty much on your own to make sure everything got done. So, um, and then to get out and meet new people, of course, it was easy. I had teammates. We had a really good team. We had a great coach with Bob Gaylor, Dan Mawalami. We had great players, Woodford boys, James Hardy, guys like Howard Smith, Jeff Randall, Marlon Redmond. So we were really, really excited to be there, both school wise and basketball wise. Um, let alone to meet all the other people who were at school, and they were from different countries as well. So, being a guy from Elk Grove, that was a real awakening to have that, but it was refreshing because I was really ready for it. I had always had this vision that there was something bigger than Elk Grove, than Sacramento out there. So to have that time, to have your mind wake up, to have the your mind awaken to the possibilities of new things. Um, and also, I always tell this story about, I can remember having a conversation with, listening to 2 guys talk about being CEOs of companies. And I was blown away because, and think about it, small town, Elk Grove, Sacramento, you were supposed to go to high school, graduate, work. You were supposed to go maybe to Cosumnes, junior college, work, or maybe go to Sac State, graduate, and go to work. So I was thinking with these guys, are you kidding me? These guys are going to be CEOs of companies. These guys, I thought, man, if these guys could be a CEO of a company, I could. And that was a real awakening for me to have that possibility of thought that I could be my own boss. So USF was really important in informing my thoughts that I wasn't bounded by anything other than my own thoughts.
Also,
Yeah, Bill, first, man, I just got to say again how excited I am to have you here as a player, nowhere near your caliber at USF. I mean, we all looked up to you, and and we know the history about you. You're a phenomenal player, and actually, I live in LA, lifelong Laker fan, but I got to tell you, once you got to the Bulls, I became a partial Bull fan just because of you. And then later on, I'm also Croatian. When Tony Kukoc got there, then I was even once again back in that fan. But don't tell everyone around here, though. Okay, they might not appreciate it. But I gotta say that I gotta ask. So you say you kind of your mind woke up when you got to USF and experienced all that, and I was very much the same way. I was kind of blown away when I got up there. But now when you go and your next stop is New York, um, what is there anything from your youth or from USF that you took to New York, Big Apple, huge city, and even the business that you're in? Is there something that kind of kept you grounded, kept you solid? Because you're a great guy, which is it's terrific to see, and we appreciate it.
Well, just, everything that I had learned growing up, I had really good high school coach who um, you had to work, man, at practice. Practice was not a joke. So I remember in high school, our coach used to have there was 6 periods. Okay, if you're on the team, you were in 6 period PE. So our practice started during that 6 period. So we would shoot for 50 minutes, and believe me, that shooting wasn't like it was hard. So you went all out before practice. And then after that, practices were 3 hours. So it was just all about the time and all about the work, and which I had learned from my dad, and um, that's where you kind of start out. And but our whole team was like that, and working on your game and working harder than everybody else, and consequently, when I'm a junior, our team's 30-0. When I'm a senior, little Elk Grove High School wins Northern California championship, like a Hoosier story. It's like, Jesus, who are these guys from the sticks? But we win Northern California championships, beating all the schools in the Bay Area. Um, so I get to USF, and it's the same thing. It's a really high level of play, high level of anticipation of great things happening. So going to the Knicks was the same thing. I was coming. Um, I didn't know how good I was. I just knew one thing: I'm coming hard as I can come, and my effort's going to be off the chain. So whatever happens is going to happen. So all those lessons I had learned from growing up, from high school to USF, I was ready for the NBA. Um, Effort wise, now I got to tell you, I couldn't guard anybody in the NBA. It took a while, but they had great players. My first game was against Daryl Dawkins, and then you get Bob Lanier, and then you get guys like Dave Cowens, and you get Wes Unseld, who's like built like a tree, couldn't move him at all, and then Cream comes in. So all those lessons, you get killed. Offensively, I could score, thank God, but defensively, holy smokes, and that took a good, 3 quarters of a season before I stopped anybody. But but eventually, I was able to learn my lesson, and with the veteran guys there, guys like Marvin Webster's and Josie Merriweather, and played with Truck Robinson, who was like a great mentor to me. My first coach was Red Holzman. Then I got UB Brown after that, who love to chew your ass out if you're not doing the right thing. So just had to listen, learn, and work hard. So it was it was an education, but fortunately, I was able to do it.
Bill, I got to say, I mentioned my parents are from Croatia. When it comes to sports, we believe that forget defense. If you outscore the other team, you can never lose.
Well, that's true. If you're good enough to score, um, it's really interesting that the teams that I think are really good can do both, and because there's going to be some games where for some unknown reason, that ball's not going in. It's just not. So if I can guard you up a little bit, um, hopefully I'm a little trickier. I won't say smarter because I don't think I'm smarter than anybody. I think I'm trickier. Um, we can get a lot of wins. So um, it's just kind of refreshing to be able to play with teams that kind of have that little insight, especially for situations. Basketball is built on, and you see it even now, the last 5 minutes of the game. And if you look at it, it's like, okay, who's going to win this last 5 minutes? That's the game. So in playing in Chicago, I can promise you that last 5 minutes, it was ours. So if the game was, if we were down by 5 or 10 or was tied, if we were up, forget about it. Because that last 5 minutes of the game, we're definitely going to win this game for sure.
Listen, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves because there's so much great stuff that we got to talk to you about. So I want to get us back to when you're a lot younger. When did you first know that you're going to be pretty good at this thing? And I know you outworked everybody, but when did that work first start to pay off where you're like, whoa, yeah, there's not anything anybody can do to stop me and stop me from winning?
I was never really enthralled with this idea of really playing professional basketball. And it really hadn't thought a lot about it until I was like a junior, because there's always that doubt and there's always somebody better. Um, because, I wasn't the fastest guy, strongest guy. I was tall. But I tell you, I would meet some guys who were as tall as me, and they weren't a little faster. They were a lot faster, and they could jump a lot higher, and they were just a lot more athletic to me. So my thing was is that if I could kind of, like I said, trick them a little bit and outwork them, I would kind of be okay. So um, when I was a junior here at USF, I had an opportunity. I talked to Don Nelson, who was at Milwaukee. I talked to Rod Thorne, who was in Chicago, and I talked to Red Holzman, who was in New York. And they all came to USF. It was like, wow, these guys. So then I thought, maybe I can kind of play over there a little bit. And if you can remember, my teammates, Winford Boyes and James Hardy, both left early. Um, James went to Utah, Winford went to Jersey. And I had an opportunity to go. If I would have left, I would have probably went to Milwaukee. But I tell you, a couple of things happened. One is that I didn't feel like I was really ready. I was kind of ready, but I wasn't ready. So I was a little bit scared. And two, I was having a lot of fun. So I'm safe here. I'm having a lot of fun here. I'm just gonna wait. And unfortunately, Winford and James left. Um, but it wasn't really until then that I thought that I can really play, because, like I said, I wasn't a super athlete. I could work really hard. I could trick people, and that was pretty much it. So, but after my senior year, I was running over pretty much a lot of people. So after that, I felt like, yeah, I'm ready to go now.
I love listening to you and how humble you are, first of all, but I love hearing how you appreciate your teammates, and you use the word fun and camaraderie, and you hear about chemistry all the time. I want to last USF question, and we'll get into your great NBA career. But I think back to our first road trip Mike and I went on. We're going out to Missouri, staying at a nice hotel, Embassy Suites. We're freshmen, and we just get there and put our stuff down. We sit back on the bed, and our phone rings. And one of our teammates yelling at us that we're missing the team meeting. And we didn't even know there was a team meeting. And so they give us a room number. We sprint like we stole something over to that room. The whole team, except one guy, the whole team is waiting on us with buckets of water. They open the door. We just get doused. The one guy that was missing somehow gets into our room, takes off our mattresses, puts them in the bathroom where we can't even open the door, throws our stuff all over the place. And welcome to USF basketball first road trip. You have any story that stands out in your mind where you just had so much fun that it's just one you're never going to forget?
Oh, you guys were a lot more inventive than we were. We were more about just getting on the floor because I can remember our first practice. Now, our first practice was we walked out of the USF gym and ran through the park down to the beach and ran back 6 miles. So I got into the gym and I was thinking, because now we got to go practice. Are you freaking kidding me? So go through practice, somehow made it. I don't know how. The next day, we went to Kezar. Luckily, we got to walk down there and ran the stairs. And they came back up and then we practiced. So we did that all week. And I got to tell you, I got to promise you, it was a nightmare. So our team got together, our entire team, which was made up of young guys, older guys, and basically went to the coach, went to Bob Gaylord, and said, we don't want to do that. That's insane.
How'd that go over?
Bob is a brilliant coach. Bob said, look, we're going to go down to the beach. You guys run down there, come back, and then we'll go practice. So he changed himself for our team because he knew we were going to be pretty good. And but that week, that introduction week was a basic nightmare. And also, that was a kind of a get to know each other team. So the first 3 or 4 days of practice, we had a couple guys slug it out on the court. So we were this really happy group because we had freshmen and we had seniors that wanted to keep our positions. So that was our getting to know session, to where we got to know each other, bonded, and but after that, like most situations where you bond as a team, you're going to beat the hell out of each other in practice, but that opposing team can't touch you. They'll kill you for their teammate, but then in practice they'll try to kill you too. So we had those kind of dynamics. So, but it did take a bit for us to bond as a team and find out who we were. I would have settled for the water dousing. I really would have liked that, but we didn't have that kind of an intro.
Well, that's probably why you guys went to the NCAA tournament. We're the #1 team in the nation for a little bit. And Mike and I's team, I think the best year we had was like maybe 17-9. We had some seasons, 9-20. And the water didn't help us too much get any dubs. So I think I would have traded places for you. And we had guys going fisticuffs too, like you did. It got a little bit crazy at times. But this show, Bill, is called Life's Essential Ingredients. And that's so broad, but it's really about helping the listener and ourselves. We're both 51 and still trying to figure out what is it that's essential to us, and how can we take that, enhance it, and apply it to our life, and then share it with the world. These Jesuit values that we got from USF. And I want to ask you a pretty tough question, I think. Not having lived in New York and not, being anybody famous at all, how did you, or what ingredient did you take out? How did your time in New York and dealing with the media help you throughout your life? Because I can only imagine that was very difficult, especially coming from Elk Grove, where you're, big hero, USF, big hero, get to New York, whole different deal. And figuring out that piece. How was it dealing with the media, and what lesson did you take from that time in your life?
Well, look, being in New York's the ultimate test, because you can have your entire face on the back of the Post, and it's good or bad. It's either like, yeah, this guy's great, or you got to get this guy to Dodge down. I've had both, but what it really does, it tests you, and you find out who you really are, and you find out who you really want to be, and you find out why you're really playing this sport. Hopefully, like I did, I was married then. I had kids. I had my family. I had my coaches. When I was in New York, I had great teammates that are still friends of mine now, guys like Louis Orr, Trent Tucker. We really bonded, and that we took care of each other, because we're all going through the same thing. So if your team's doing well, you're fine. If your team's not, you're going to get killed. So, but inside of that, you got to know who you are, really. And to me, it came down to, it wasn't hard. And I think you know what I'm already going to talk about, because it came down to effort. If in fact I'm going to give my best effort, I just gave it, I'm fine. So I'm always going to give my best effort, and good or bad. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So if I'm giving that on the floor, I'm playing as hard as I can play. I'm really okay with myself, because there's times when those kind of things happen with the media. It could change your personality. For me, it strengthened me. It made me stronger, because there was always doubt. And also, there's kind of this little kid thing that's in me, that somebody tells me what I can do and what I can't do. No, that's not going to work. You want to compete? You want to tell me what I can't do? Nah, that's not going to hit me very right. Because, as we talked about earlier, I'm only bounded by my own thoughts. And my belief is that I can do really anything if I can focus on it. So, with my support that I had around me, family, friends, coaches, teammates, I'm good to go.
Nice. Well, speaking of good to go, you did go. It was 1988. Jerry Krause saw that you were an extremely hard worker and were going to be a great piece for the puzzle that he was building at that time. And talk us through kind of what's going on. And everybody knows it's a business, but how the trade works out, how good you felt, because I think at that point in your career, things weren't going great, but in listening to you, you were doing the best you could. So I'm sure you felt, hey, I'm doing everything that I can to deal with all the injuries that you had to deal with. And then now all of a sudden you get this call from Jerry Krause saying, hey, we want you What is that? How does all that unfold, and how great did you feel getting traded to Chicago?
It was awesome. It was just awesome. Now think about this. Now, I was in New York for 9 years. Uh, and that last year was a um, really interesting year. Now, I could have made it be a nightmare because Rick Pitino was the coach and basically told all of us old guys, you guys really stink. And we're not going to play you much. So that year, that half the year, I was like on vacation. It was like, this is ridiculous. I've never been in a situation where I haven't played. So we decided, it was myself, I think Rick Carlisle was there, Louis and Trent, and we had a bunch of old guys. So what we would do is that we would play after practice and work out. So if in fact we had an opportunity to play, we'd be ready. Now, what did we have to do? Nothing. And I thought that was a great test because it was like, what are we playing for? We're playing for ourselves. We want to be the best players we can be without basically support of this coaching staff. So we were being our own rebellious selves. They didn't want us, so we were like, we don't want them. So not that our guys who weren't there, we had guys like Patrick Ewing and Mark Jackson and Kenny Walker and those young guys, they were great. We love those guys. But the coaches, not too happy. So during the course of that year, during the playoffs, when they really had to win, boom, all of a sudden we're playing. So what had happened then is that I think teams really saw that, these guys are done playing. They're still pretty good. So that summer, that half of that year, I'm in Hawaii with my wife. First time we had ever gone on vacation. And we got a phone call right when we got in the hotel room, flew from Chicago to Hawaii, which is not a short trip. You're traded. And you got to come to Chicago. I'm like, right now? It's like, yeah, now. So hopped on a plane, went to Chicago, stayed at the Knickerbocker Hotel, met with the media. Of course, my greeting was, Bill, we're happy to have you here. Now, Michael Jordan, he's not happy. What do you think about that? And once again, I was thinking, dude, I just spent 9 years in New York. You guys have no chance of bothering me with any thoughts. So I was just ready to rock and roll and get to New York, and we had a great bunch of guys there, and we had the foundation of our team. We had a young Scottie Pippen, we had a young Horace Grant, we had John Paxson, we had of course Michael. So we had the foundation of our team there. Later we would get guys like Wolf Perdue and Stacey King and Scott Williams, our second group of starters, to have that other foundation set. So it was a great time, and I was still, I was the old guy on the team. I think I was like 31. So it was fun. It was a fun time. I moved to Chicago. I moved my family there. They were really, really happy. It was a new start, and believe me, I was coming hard.
Nice. It sounds like that's the only way you know how to do it. And speaking of family and enjoying Chicago, I'm going to just ask one off the wall question, because I had the good fortune. I have two girls. My oldest daughter got to go play in Illinois, about 45 minutes south of Chicago, at Olivet Nazarene University, NAIA school. But Chicago is all about the pizza. So are you a Geno's? Are you a Malnati's? Are you a Giordano? Or do you even like pizza?
I think it's more about the regular or deep dish. And I am not a deep dish cheese guy because I feel like that's going to clog me up. I'm pretty versatile, but I am a pizza guy. Love it. Pepperoni, little black olives, a little onion,
Right.
probably a little well done. I'm good to go.
All right. All right. Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Lou Malnati's. It's a deep dish pizza, but oh, it's the best Chicago pizza that there is. One of these days, Pasha and I got to go out there. And I know I actually reached out to you when I was coaching out there in Illinois, and you were gracious enough. And I know you have a couple restaurants out there. I don't know if you still have them or not, but the time just never worked out. But you were so kind to me and did invite me to come to one of your restaurants, but it just didn't work out. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, we can still do that. Now, we had a restaurant in Wisconsin. We don't have that one anymore, but we have one in Highwood, which is right next to Lake Forest, in between Lake Forest and Highwood. It's called Froggy's.
Mm.
So it's a French cafe.
Mm.
After this pandemic's over, we're definitely going.
All right. So, and you're saying we, so me, Mike, and you, and maybe get out to a Bulls game and go get something to eat. We would love that.
Oh, that's done.
All right. All right.
It's done. All we got to do is get there.
Speaking of done, let's get into your championships. Man, the three-peat, what do you think, especially the experience that you had in New York, coming in to be the old guy, knowing that Detroit was the team to beat at that time, and the game was just so nasty. I couldn't even imagine playing in those battles like that. It's just incredible to watch those games back now, and then you watch an NBA game today, and it's just not even close to the same game as far as physicality goes. I mean, it was incredible what they let the players get away with, but I don't want to get off of that. I want to get into what was the tipping point for your Bulls team to realize, you know what, we can do this and we can win a championship.
It was just process. You know, when we played, the Pistons whipped us 2 straight years, but look, they were better than us. They were older. They were more aggressive. Just smarter than us. So, and interesting enough, it took them 2 years to get past the Boston Celtics to win the East. So we really went through a process of just learning from them and learning that, you know, we had to have a solid group of starters. We had to have great guys coming off the bench. We have to be tough. We have to be smart. But it took us 2 years to get that done. Now, interesting enough, we should thank the Pistons because after we were able to overcome them, we went to these straight championships. So it's just funny to me that people are like, "Don't you guys hate the Pistons?" I'm like, "No, we should be thanking them." After beating them, and we ended up sweeping their ass at home,
I remember
at their place. We couldn't be stopped. So we needed that lesson to learn of how to win. So we were off to the races.
Speaking of that sweep, I know there was some people made a big controversy about the Pistons not shaking your hands. And in my opinion, there's nothing sweeter than that, where they just kind of tuck their tail between their legs and get off the court. You're done. I was wondering how you felt about it.
Well, I know people were like, yeah, they should have shook your hand and walked off the floor and congratulated you. And, you know, I have never shaken an opponent's hands after they beat me and walked off the floor. So I was like, why in the world would they want to do that? They just got swept in a series. We didn't really, or I didn't care. I knew we were off to play the Lakers, and we had our own doubts about that and coming and doing that. So for me, you know, I was just happy to finally get past them and go on to challenge to play for what would be my first championship.
And to me, it's always a little sweeter when you beat someone and they're angry about it. Because I know when I lose, I was angry too. But it kind of makes me feel a little bit better if they're angry about the loss.
Well, I'm more of I don't care what he thinks. I just know you got your ass beat, and do better next time. So, um, because with our team coming back that year, and we had a really interesting summer because after getting beat by the Pistons, our off season started 2 weeks after the season ended. Our guys were so focused in the weight room. I couldn't believe how many guys were in the weight room. Lifting, guys were running, guys were that preparation of that next season was off the charts. So we had a feeling we were ready to beat those guys and we were going to do everything possible. We had a great strength and conditioning coach um, with Al Vermeil, who's Dick Vermeil's brother, who was the only strength and conditioning coach who um, worked in the has championship ring in the NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball. This guy was amazing. Um, was amazing for us and getting us ready for that next season. So um, we were ready for it, and luckily we were able to stay healthy and knock those suckers off.
Yeah. Again, the title of the show is Life's Essential Ingredients. And if you could take your 91, 92, 93, and I think you've already spoken to it a little bit, but what would you say were, if you were to pick two essential ingredients to achieving that three-peat, what would you say, and how did you guys uh, develop those ingredients to be three-peat champions?
Well, a big part of I think with thoughts are they're all positive because look, there's always somebody that's going to tell you. Don't you think it's interesting? There's always people that are going to tell you what you can't do, and and they know exactly what you should do. Probably not what they should do, but they really know. Um, and you should be open to thought. But my thing is that uh, the end of it is it's got to be positive. It's got to be positive thoughts. It's got to be positive possibilities. Uh, because what happens during the course of your life and during the course of a season, those negative thoughts can kill you. And my dad's great with that. My dad's like, I don't want you to worry about anything. If you worry about anything, just don't worry about it. Just come on home. And it's just having that comfort of knowing that everything's okay. You lose a tough game, it'll be all right. Everything's going to be fine. So, um, because there's times in your life where you may get injured. I got injured in New York. Stupidly, I was running. Not stupidly, but I was working,
Your
as you can
USF days,
imagine.
you wanted to get back, and you're running those 6 miles, and you say, hey, let me bring that to New York.
Well, I got a stress fracture, and instead of just taking it easy, I worked on it, and it got worse, and I ended up missing a half a season. And then after that, that bone had really healed. So right after training camp, my foot broke, so I missed an entire season. And I was really not in a good place mentally. And luckily, my wife, who's great, um, just put up with me for probably the 3 months that I was probably pretty much a pain in the ass, and just encouraged me to just think about other things and try to focus on other things. And um, so luckily I've had that, but um, my positive thoughts and people around me have really carried me over. And luckily, but like you, I have great friends um, where everything is not horrible, or everything is not, it's not that bad. Uh, because I don't like to lose. Nobody does. I want to be extraordinarily successful. Sometimes you're not, and you can go pretty dark. You don't want to, but you need somebody around you to tell you that nah, it's not that bad. You'll fight it. It is that bad. And it's like, no, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Let's think about something else, and it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, what advice would you have? And we definitely I gotta ask, but I don't want to do it now. But don't let me forget about The Last Dance. I can't. The show wouldn't be right to at least get your insight after living that. But I want to get in because I love hearing what you're hearing or hearing what you're saying. Um, but what advice would you have for a young person who hasn't been blessed with having a dad to help them develop that message? And unfortunately, the voice that they hear is just the opposite of being positive and things are going to work out. It's always negative in their mind. How would you help them kind of reboot? What advice would you give to, say, a young freshman male at entering Elk Grove High School who's full of self-doubt?
Well, what you give to them is just to think about what you want to accomplish. And look, sports is not really everything. Sports is what you put into it. So my thoughts was as because I'm like a lot of kids. My dad didn't have a lot of money. My dad knew how to work, um, and seven kids. No, there wasn't a lot of. There wasn't a lot around, but we just knew that the more we would do, the more time we would put in. Uh, if you want to be the best dribbler, if you want to be the best passer, shooter, you've got to shoot more, dribble more, pass more than everybody else. You two guys should know that when I was a kid, my favorite sport, I was a baseball player. I was a pitcher. And you can believe me, nobody played wall baseball more than me, where you draw a base on the wall, get a tennis ball, and throw it up there. We did that all day. Um, so when I was a young snap, I thought I was going to be a baseball player because it's not that I was great at it, but I sure to hell played more than anybody else. And then it was an awakening when I was a freshman and I saw a friend of mine, he had like a 400-foot home run. And I was looking at him like, well, I guess I should start playing some basketball. So I sure the world can't do that. So it's just about all the time that you're going to put in. And um, hopefully you have some people who are older than you. Such a big advantage for me because my cousin was 4 years old. He was a really good basketball player. To be able to play with them, to be able to seek out other guys who kind of have that same dream and vision. Um, but the main thing is to know that it is doable. It is doable. So it's just a possibility that wherever you fall in, however good you're going to be, if you want to seek it out, it's doable. So just understand that, and you've got to be persistent at it.
I appreciate those thoughts, and time, is our greatest asset. And I think, not to put words in your mouth, I'll speak for myself and Mike. I know those are some of our challenges, with our families and coaching. and the demands that life puts on you, and trying to do the best that you can in all these different roles. And I know you have 4 children: Justin, Jason, James, and Kristen. And thank you for sharing your dad with us today. And you married your junior high sweetheart, Sherry.
Yeah, scary, huh?
Yeah, how long have you guys been married?
41 years.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Exactly.
Congrats.
I
You're going to
was
score
telling
big
her,
points for getting that one correct, first of all, and getting it quick. So, Sherry, hopefully you're going to listen in on this, because Bill came up big right there. So, my
yeah,
question,
don't worry, she reminds me.
my question, again, it's life's essential ingredients. Think back to your time and the demands on it. And I know you took your family with you whenever you traveled. But when you were a young dad, what was essential for your kids at that time? I know you're a grandparent now, and then being married 41 years. If you can combine those, if possible, what is most essential in your life through those different times?
Well, I was fortunate to have a wife who did not mind being at home. She loved being a mom. So, like a lot of players, like a lot of coaches, she was willing to take on that responsibility. Uh, so there's times where we weren't at home. I wasn't at home a lot to make those decisions, and um, luckily, I was fortunate to have a wife to be able to do that. So I'm sure it wasn't pleasant all the time for her to 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 be the only one at home, especially in the 80s. Um, our road trips were 2 weeks. We'd be gone in 2 weeks slot. We were flying commercial. We didn't have the charter planes that teams have now. So we would scrunch up on a seat and just fly around. And as players, we were exhausted because the commercial flying was exhausting, and also the fact that if we couldn't get out that night, we had to be the first flight in the morning. So um, the road trips were long then. So she was able to take on that responsibility and put all that time in, which was at that point in time was absolutely normal. And I was just very very lucky that she was willing to play that role. Uh, and I was lucky to have really great kids who were willing to play their role as well, to be able to go to school, do what they're supposed to do, stay out of trouble, and then we would spend whatever time we could together. And actually, they kind of liked it because when I got home, I was kind of the dictator around the house. Just as far as did they get their schoolwork done? Did they get their piano lessons done? And so they were probably happy when I was gone, so they could kind of run free a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely no greater gift than being a parent. And I know my life totally got clarity with the birth of my kids. And yeah, fun to see them now start to mature and the relationships change. And yeah, fun. So I appreciate you sharing that. Off the wall type question for you. You're obviously done playing, out of the limelight, somewhat. What gets you up out of bed today? What gets you fired up? Be like, oh man, I'm gonna go do this. And I know your work ethic for sure, but yeah, what else is it that just drives you now at this point in your life?
I'm pretty regimented. Luckily, I can kind of create my own work here at USF. So I still like to get up at the same time every morning. So we could be up as early as 5:30. Um, I hope to be out of bed by 7. Um, I kind of feel great that way and pretty regimented. Got to see what's going on in the world, uh, both news wise, especially now, and then sports wise, to kind of keep yourself updated and see what's going on around USF, especially our sports. Uh, and then now, with this COVID thing going on, I've had a great opportunity to reconnect with our athletes. That's been a lot of fun. I've had some long, long conversations, basically because of there's nothing to do. So, as a matter of fact, the other day I spoke with Aaron Gilberg and Rod Williams for about an hour each, and it's just fun. So, I try to be productive every day. Um, we're still doing some work here at USF. Um, so I just try to keep myself as productive as possible and try to make some kind of impact for the school during this period of time.
Well,
And
definitely you're doing that. Again, you're the most incredible ambassador that I've ever met. Actually, I'm going to put you second. I hate to do that. And I'm going to give a shout out to one of my roommates, Jeff Perkins. His dad was a USFer, Ray Perkins. And I want to say, Pasha, you might have to correct me. He might have been the first like male cheerleader. And he did that just because he loved USF. But this guy was Mr. USF for sure. And unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But yeah, what a treat just to meet somebody who just loved the university so much that he just bled green and gold for sure. And it was so much fun. But you're definitely number two, which is a huge compliment because you are a great ambassador of an amazing university. So let's get into, but before I lose it, your 2 cents on The Last Dance. And I loved watching that just from being a sports fan. And I know nothing is ever as it seems, and they always edit and cut and show you what they want to show you. And I know you'll have a different perspective. I would just love to hear, what you thought of watching that.
that Michael Jordan highlight tape.
Yeah, that one.
It was really interesting. For the month that I was on, it gave me a lot of entertainment. I was on probably a talk show every day, and I laughed through most of it because it's like really comical. One thing, I didn't know we had all that drama going on. I thought we were just going to practice and going home and get ready to win games. But apparently there was something else going on. So some things didn't hit me right. Like the drama, the fact that he was under all this duress and pressure that I only saw him every day, but I never saw it. The fact that you could play golf during the playoffs kind of makes me laugh. The fact that you would think that it's normal for like a high school kid to think that people are drinking and smoking a cigar during the playoffs is like normal for the NBA. I don't know. So I found it to be comical. Now, a lot of my teammates furious because of all the time we had put together. And I think that that we had a special team with guys like Phil Jackson and guys like Tex Winter, geniuses, Johnny Bach, Jim Clemens. We had a special owner with Jerry Reistow. We had a special GM with Jerry Krause. It was a really special time, along with great teammates that we mentioned, along with guys like B.J. Armstrong, Will Perdue, Stacey King, Scott Williams. Scott Williams gets no mention. He went to Carolina. So it's like I said, I found it to be humorous that we had all this drama and somehow still win 3 straight championships, and they come back and still win 3 more championships. The team of the 90s. As you know, I'm not I like to think positively. we hate the Detroit Pistons. I don't hate them. I know most of these guys. They're good dudes. So it's just really bizarre, this buildup of drama, this buildup of hate and dislike, and I don't know, it's just silliness. Don't you have enough sense to go to bed at night? You got to stay up to 2 or 3 in the morning to get a pizza. I don't know. My kids do. So I don't know. I'll just go with it and chuckle at it. But it was interesting. I'm not buying it, but it's interesting, and I'll take it for what it is. So, but it did give me some entertainment.
How last question about basketball, and then we'll get ready to wrap this up. Appreciate your time. Can't believe it's already been an hour. Just on the outside for me, don't know obviously Phil Jackson, but love what I do know, and seemed like a player's coach for sure. How was it playing for Phil and working with Phil? And how would you describe his skill set and his essential ingredients to the man that he is?
Phil's a special guy, and Phil, it's funny because I was probably the only guy around. I played against Phil. He was in Jersey, elbowed him a little bit, got him out of the way, scored on him. But Phil wanted to coach even then. So Phil had his own journey of kind of finding out who you are, and because he coached in the D League for a long time. He coached in Puerto Rico, and that's when he was, getting thrown out of games and throwing chairs and being a basic wild man. And it took him a while to become the type of coach that he felt like he wanted to be. And I thought he was amazing in his thoughts and his balance, especially our group. So we were really fortunate to have him. But think about this. When Phil got the job, he had Johnny Bach, who was our defensive coach. He had Tex Winter, who was our offensive coach. So he had guys to really mentor him through that period of time. Because at practice, he didn't talk a lot. And later on he did. But he was able to adopt those philosophies, offensively and defensively, and make them his. So, but he was brilliant enough to be able to do that. And like I said, we had great players, along with Mike's guy, who really changed our game, Tony Kukoc, who was one of the best players I've ever played with. Now, you have a guy who's as tall as me, who can play point guard. Brilliant passer, could score, was not a great shooter until the end of the game. But this guy can make a freaking three, and teams had to be going, this guy can't shoot. Boom, boom, boom. So just special guys, special talent, special personalities. We were just so blessed to have that team of special people together. That's what I want people to understand, not Last Dance, but how special that group, office-wise, coaching-wise, trainer-wise, player-wise, that may never happen again.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've taken that from everything that you've shared. It's all about team, and again, I think that's a big reflection of how you grew up. I think it ties into that quote of how we started, the law of the farm. I love how you shared just staying positive, and I think people on the surface might look, oh, here's this guy who played 16 years in the NBA and didn't have any hardships, and man, you dealt with a lot your whole life. And definitely in your career, and you just continue to stay positive, and you're so gracious and kind with your time. And again, the best ambassador for USF. My last question I have, and then I don't know if Mike has any last ones, and I don't want to sound too morbid, but I don't think you know this about me, Bill. I was the first student athlete at USF, male wise, to become a nurse. And that's a whole crazy story in itself. But I've been working as a nurse for 28 years, and 12 of those at UC Davis in the trauma ICU, taking care of people shot, stabbed, really bad car accidents. So I've been surrounded by death. And I think when you live your life that way, you have a sense of urgency to get to living. And so I have a quote that I love from John Alston that says, the only thing you take with you when you're gone is what you leave behind. And so my question to you is, what is it that you want your family, your teammates, USF, and any other key people, essential people in your life to know about Bill Cartwright?
Well, I've been, as you see, been really fortunate to have great people with me. It started with my parents, my mom and dad, who were amazing. My dad's from Texas. Somehow, thank God, ended up in California. My mom's from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Somehow, thank God, ended up in California. And that's where we grew up. And we were so bonded as a family. And we just took care of each other. And my dad was amazing, 7 kids to be able to do that. And my mom to be able to do that as well. So I'm a product of the people who are around me, the people who've taken care of me. And so my thing is that the more people I can help, the more people I can talk to, the more people I can have influence on, to give them some of the lessons that I've learned. Um, and it is simple things too. It's like, let's say, for example, if I'm talking to somebody who is graduating from USF, my advice to them is that your best ally are the people from USF, or alumni, that I never really thought about, um, and your family. So it's just to be able to assist people and help people as much as possible, spend time with people. Um, I benefit from that as well because I learn. But I was fortunate enough with whatever situation that people helped me. I can remember when I was a kid, I got in a car wreck. One of my teammates, his dad, because I lost my license, helped me get my license back. Now he didn't have to do anything, and I always remember that. It's like he didn't have to do anything. So if I could help somebody, so that's what I try to do. And I think that by doing that, and I've been able to do that, and because it's not really that hard to do, because we all know somebody who can probably help you, or at least maybe send you on the right way. Um, it's pretty awesome. So that's what I really like to focus on right now.
Well, that's definitely what you're doing, and I know Mike's got a comment or two that he wants to share. But yeah, for me, Bill, you've definitely done that, and I appreciate you coming on the show. Life's Essential Ingredients with C4 Leaders. We're definitely going to have you out to one of our events, or if not, bring it to USF once the COVID is done. We haven't even kind of told you what we do, but Mike and I started this nonprofit called C4 Leaders, which is based upon communication, chemistry, consistency, and creativity. And we build community through pizza. And so I'll save all that because I don't want to get too long-winded. But Mike, get us out of here. And thanks again, Bill.
I would just like to thank you for being on the show, and really want to thank you for your whole journey coming right back to USF, because that's a place I think we all love, and like you said, the best times of our lives. And so I'm very thankful and proud that you are back there at the university, and what an amazing ambassador. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you guys for having me on, and let's talk about doing some stuff at USF. I would love that. The Leo McCarthy Center, they do a lot of stuff in the community. I'm sure they would love to chat. Um, we can reconnect with our baseball guys. Our baseball team is pretty good. I don't know if you guys have been back over here. Uh, it's been unfortunate. We haven't been able to get them on the field yet, but I go down to a lot of games and watch them. Our basketball boys are playing right now. You saw us. We beat number 4 Virginia. Come on, we're busted. So
I saw
it's
that.
just
That was awesome.
yeah. So it's just really great stuff going on, and we're competing at an extraordinarily high level. It's really exciting, and it's doing all those things that we want to do. Is having the possibility that we can be the number 1 team in the country. And it's like, hey, look, USF, we're number 1, pal. And that's what I love, that possibility that we could be the best team in the country. But we have to think that way first. And when we do it, we'll be able to accomplish it.
Yep. Yep. Again, thanks again so much, Bill. Really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you in the city. And once things quiet down, definitely Mike and I will be there. And don't forget, I already got it written down. We're going to Chicago, going to a Bulls game, going to your restaurant, and celebrate our bond that we have as being USF alumni. Thank you so much. And you take care. This was Bill Cartwright on Life's Essential Ingredients with Jeff and Mike.